My mother and stepfather passed away in a car accident while on their way to get their marriage license. My stepbrother, Jason Hale, decided to adopt me amidst the controversy. He spoiled me and gave me an enviable life for 12 years. However, after I confessed my feelings to him while I was drunk, all his affection towards me was withdrawn. Soon after, he quickly got engaged. On my 20th birthday, he personally helped me look for a marriage partner. Later, I fulfilled his wish and accepted someone else's proposal. I hope you can give me a grand proposal ceremony, okay? In the dimly lit private room, I locked eyes with my brother's archrival, Liam Brooks. Upon hearing my words, a flicker of surprise and mockery crossed his eyes. "Sister, are you joking?" While saying this, he unconsciously sat up straight. I adjusted my emotions, pressed my lips into a slight smile, and said bittersweetly, "You know my brother has been searching everywhere for a suitable marriage partner for me, right? He has helped me a lot over the years, so I don't want to trouble him with my marriage plans. Besides, aren't you also being urged to get married? If we were to marry, we could help each other out." Liam frowned slightly and looked at me seriously. "Have you thought this through?" This decision was one I made after careful consideration. Ever since I confessed my feelings to Jason while drunk last time, he had been avoiding me as if I were a danger. To make me give up on this idea, he announced his engagement to the eldest daughter of the Lin family in less than a month. Perhaps he was still worried that I would continue to pursue him. Recently, he has been frequently arranging blind dates for me, looking for a suitable marriage partner. I want to tell him that I no longer love him and that he should stop doing these pointless things. However, I understand that in this kind of social circle, if you enjoy special treatment, you have to repay it in their own way. He claims he is helping me find the right person to marry. It would be better to say that we are looking for a partner that is advantageous for the company. If we are just going to choose randomly, we might as well pick someone we find pleasing. Liam is decisive in business, but his private life is quite simple, unlike those who indulge in pleasure. Moreover, I have no fondness for him, and he feels the same way about me. I understand, Mr. Brooks. If possible, I wish us a pleasant cooperation. I smiled gently, and he smiled softly, saying vaguely, "You and he are quite alike, both of you enjoy talking to yourselves." This he referred to Jason. I was momentarily taken aback as he slightly stood up and reached out his hand, indicating that he was pleased with the cooperation. After our conversation, I declined his offer to give me a ride home. I spent a long time wandering outside before finally heading home. When Jason returned, he was wearing only a white shirt and looked serious as he gazed at the photos on the coffee table. The woman sitting beside him wore an expression of helplessness and dissatisfaction. She said, "Jason, what kind of person do you think Mia Carter likes? She hasn't liked anyone you introduced her to. She really has high standards, thinking no one is good enough for her." Jason gently patted her on the head, and as if reminded of something, his expression grew heavy. "No matter what, she will eventually get married, and it is quite normal for us, as her brother and sister-in-law, to help her choose a spouse." This was said by his fiancée, Sarah James. Since they announced their engagement, she has moved into this home and become its hostess. Hearing him refer to himself as brother made me a little dazed. After all, since that day, he has asked me not to call him brother anymore. I stood in the entryway, looking at the couple nestled together, my eyes slightly stinging. In the past, I used to love curling up in his embrace, feeling that warmth that belonged to me. But now, that warmth is no longer mine. I took a deep breath, changed my shoes, and walked into the house. "Mr. He, I'm back." Upon hearing my voice, he leaned down and gave Sarah a light kiss on the lips before coldly saying to me, "If you come back this late again, don't bother coming back." I looked into his eyes and quietly said, "Okay." Jason seemed somewhat dissatisfied with my response, his brows furrowed slightly, and he appeared a bit irritated. Your sister-in-law and I have found some excellent young people. If you have time, you should go meet them, he said, not as a suggestion but as an order. At the beginning, in order to avoid blind dates, I had sought his help and even pretended not to eat. I thought he would comfort me like he used to, not wanting to see me sad. I never expected that night he would make me kneel outside for the whole evening. It wasn't until I turned pale and was about to faint that he finally let me back into the room. When I woke up, he was standing at the foot of the bed looking at me and said, Mia, I hope you won't make me regret taking you in. His simple words broke me down, but they also made me fully aware of my situation. I am not one of those pampered young ladies, I am just someone living under someone else's roof. If my mom weren't with his dad, someone of his status would never have noticed me at all. Realizing this, I silently withdrew my feelings for him and tried to lessen my presence in this household. Just as he said, this isn't my home, I don't truly have a home. Therefore, when faced with his arrangements, all I could say was okay. Sarah smiled and, like a hostess, said, Mia, your plans are set, help us pick a honeymoon destination. I have no idea where to choose. She spoke as she handed me a stack of photos. I looked down and saw that the first photo was taken at the place where Jason and I first met, North City. Suddenly, I recalled our first meeting that year, during a heavy snowfall in winter. Mr. Hale brought him to our house to ask for my hand in marriage. My mother hoped that Jason and I could deepen our bond, so she asked me to take him downstairs to play in the snow. At that time, Jason was already 15 years old, while I was only 7, and there was a significant height difference between us. Although he didn't talk much, I often found myself conversing with him, as if I were talking to myself. When we arrived at the neighborhood, the snow was knee-deep, making it very inconvenient to move around. On top of that, the cold made me shiver all over. However, I remembered my mother's words about strengthening my bond with my brother. So no matter how cold it got, I endured it. I smiled and wanted to build a snowman for him to see, but he pulled me back. Jason looked at me with disdain, wiped my nose, and muttered, If you're cold, just go home, there's no need to put on a brave face. I shook my head and honestly told him, No, Mom asked me to take you out to play. He sighed helplessly and grabbed my arm to lead me back. That day, he saw that my face was a bit red from the cold and said to my mom, Auntie, I really like Mia. I'll treat her like my own sister, so you don't have to worry about her trying to please me. He truly was very kind to me, but it was more like the relationship between an older brother and a younger sister. Bringing my thoughts back to reality, I looked at the photo and softly said, It's summer now, and there's not much to do in the North City, maybe we should wait until winter. Before I could finish my sentence, Jason immediately interrupted me, saying it wouldn't work, Sarah is afraid of the cold, and we can't put it off until winter. He mistakenly thought that I was deliberately delaying their wedding date and shot me a warning glance. I forced a smile and said, I haven't been to many places, so I can't really give you any advice. You should ask someone else. After saying that, I greeted them and headed upstairs to my room. As I was walking towards the end of the corridor, I heard Sarah's voice, Jason, we're getting married, so it might not be very convenient for Mia to continue living here. Why not let her move out and learn to be independent? She can't keep coming to you every time something happens. She hasn't lived here for long, and once she gets married, she'll move out, so it won't affect us. Upon hearing his calm words, I couldn't help but feel a surge of emotions inside. Previously, he had said that a woman's worth is not determined by marriage. Instead of worrying about who she will marry in the future, it is better to think about what kind of person she wants to become. He told me not to place too much importance on marriage and to prioritize myself. Now, it is him who is eager to get me married and also wants to break free from me. I take a deep breath to prepare for my business trip the day after tomorrow. Once I've packed my things, I go to freshen up. Just as I'm about to go to sleep, a friend suddenly sends me a video. I open it, and the screen is completely dark. Before long, I heard a familiar voice. Brother, I like you, and I've liked you for a long time. I don't want to be your sister anymore, and I don't want to call you brother. Jason, can you try to like me? Mia, what are you talking about? Hearing these words, I was a bit taken aback, and my phone in my hand started to shake. This was because the person saying this was Jason and me. But I had clearly confessed at home that day. Why was this video appearing? Feeling a bit anxious, I asked my friend where this video had come from. My friend said he didn't know either and that the video had already gone viral online. I felt uneasy, unsure if he had seen the video too, so I started pacing back and forth. Suddenly, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number, and after some hesitation, I decided to answer it. On the other end, I heard Jason's mother roaring, "You shameless person. Your mother took my husband away back then, and now you want to go after my son? Why didn't you leave with your mother? My son would never like a scheming woman like you. I warn you, it's best to stay away from him, or I won't let you off the hook." Her angry words echoed in the room, gradually calming me down. I forced myself to stay composed and said, "Auntie, my mother was with Mr. Hale long after he had divorced. There's no truth to the claim that my mother stole your husband. And to be clear, I don't like Jason now, and I never will. I'm getting married soon as well. If you're willing to bless us, you're welcome to attend my wedding." After I said this rationally, I hung up the phone. I collapsed onto the bed, feeling empty inside. I was still pondering who could have sent that video out. After a while, Liam sent me a message. "Mia, just to be sure, you are willing to marry me, right?" I saw his message and replied, "Yes, voluntarily." The next day, when I woke up, I was about to ask Jason about the video. However, Sarah stormed up to me in anger. As soon as I opened my mouth, she quickly slapped me. "How could you treat me like this? I was nice to you, yet you were thinking about my fiancé. Do you think what you're doing is fair to me?" Her expression was quite displeased, and her eyes were filled with disdain. I felt my cheeks heating up and my eyes starting to sting, and I softly said, "Sister-in-law, those things are in the past. I don't want to ruin your relationship." My confession was just to put an end to my years of unrequited love. However, she responded, "I just can't accept it. You live here, sharing the same space with me, and that makes me uncomfortable. Jason treats you like his own sister and wants to do everything for you, yet you think this way about him. Do you really need a man that much?" Sarah was as angry as a porcupine, her eyes nearly bursting with rage. I realized that no matter what I said now, she wouldn't listen. I could only wait for her to calm down before I explained things to her. I said I was sorry and prepared to leave. She grabbed my arm and wouldn't let me go. "Mia, I want you to move out immediately. I don't want to live with you anymore." I replied, "I will move out, just give me some time." "No, you have to leave today." She pulled at me desperately, and as I tried to dodge her, I didn't notice my footing and lost my balance. Before I knew it, we both tumbled down the stairs. In an effort to protect her, my forehead hit the ground hard, and blood immediately blurred my vision. My body seemed to be injured as well, even a slight movement sent sharp pain coursing through me, leaving me too afraid to move. In that moment of daze, I caught a glimpse of Jason's figure. He hurried towards us. I softly called out, "Brother." Jason glanced at me coldly, then walked straight to Sarah. Seeing him, Sarah cried softly, "Jason, it hurts so much." He carefully picked her up and gently said, "Don't be afraid, I'm going to take you to the hospital right now." I felt a sharp pain in my chest, and I breathed carefully. I didn't want to die, so I called out to him again, hoping to get his attention. Sure enough, when he looked at me, his eyes were filled with disdain, and he gritted his teeth, saying, "Mia, you better pray that Sarah is okay, or I won't let you off the hook." After saying that, he took a big step and left with her in his arms. Seizing the opportunity, Sarah shot me a provocative glance, as if to say, "See? You can't beat me at all." After that, I fainted as well. When I woke up again, all I could see was a blank white space. "Mister, he really is extraordinary, he even taught you how to fight." Liam came in with a medical chart, teasing me with his words, but there wasn't a trace of a smile in his eyes. I glanced at him lightly and asked, "How did you know I was injured?" "When I called you, it was your housekeeper who answered." That person was sitting in the chair next to me, eating a freshly washed apple. "You're hurt now, and you want to postpone the proposal." "No, tomorrow will be fine." "Why?" I said, "Tomorrow is my birthday." In the past, Jason always made time to celebrate my birthday, but this time, I didn't even receive a call from him. I didn't think much of it, and the next day, under Liam's arrangements, I was discharged from the hospital despite my injury. That day, news started spreading in our circle about his proposal, and many people rushed to the scene upon hearing it. Jason was my only family member, and it was only right for him to witness everything. So, I sent him a message, and whether he could come was up to him. Fortunately, by evening, they all gathered here, attracting a lot of attention. "Jason, do you think Mia deliberately brought us here because she wants to apologize to me?" "If she does apologize, you shouldn't stay angry with her." Jason snorted. "It would be best if that were the case. She definitely needed to realize her mistake and sincerely apologize to you this time." Meanwhile, they were unaware that the person they were discussing was standing right behind them in the sea of flowers. Listening to his words, I silently thought to myself, "Jason, you have finally completely gotten rid of me. Congratulations." As time passed, the proposal ceremony officially began. Liam, dressed in a suit and holding a bouquet made of gold flowers, smiled at me. Everyone at the scene held their breath. However, when I appeared slowly in my princess dress, everyone's expression changed instantly. Jason was stunned and murmured, "How could it be her?" My sudden appearance shocked everyone. After all, they had all seen my confession video. But Liam didn't seem to care. The following scene unfolded just as he had already planned. He knelt on one knee, holding a bouquet of golden flowers, and spoke the carefully prepared words with tenderness and deep affection. Finally, he asked, "Mia, will you marry me?" He was completely serious, showing no signs of acting. I was momentarily stunned, just about to say yes, when Jason's urgent voice shattered the silence. "I disagree. Mia, come back with me." He quickly moved to my side, positioning himself between Liam and me. I was quite surprised by this incident. Didn't he want me to get engaged earlier? I followed his wishes, so why is he unhappy instead? "Mr. He, are you trying to break us apart?" Liam smiled, but there was a hint of coldness in his eyes. Sarah's face looked bad as she glared at me in anger. I avoided her gaze and turned to Jason, calmly saying, "Bro, today is an important day for me, so please don't mess around." "What important day?" "Mia, marriage is no joke, don't take it lightly." Her words sounded somewhat sarcastic. He grabbed my hand and tried to take me away. My foot was still injured, and when he pulled me, I accidentally twisted it again. A sharp pain immediately spread throughout my body. I struggled desperately and shouted, "Let go of me." Seeing this, Liam rushed over and pushed him away. The two people suddenly started fighting, and neither was willing to back down. Sarah stood by, trembling with anger, but she didn't step in to stop them. I held back the pain and staggered over, saying, "That's enough. Stop fighting." I pushed Jason away forcefully and stood in front of Liam. He was pushed away and looked somewhat at a loss, with disbelief showing in his eyes. It seemed he never expected that I would push him away for another man. I looked directly into his eyes without backing down and said sincerely, "Brother, didn't you tell me to find someone I like? I found him." Liam raised an eyebrow, and I took the opportunity to grasp his hand, intertwining our fingers. I said earnestly, "This is the person I love, and I want to marry him." "I don't agree," Jason shouted angrily, his face filled with rage. Just as he was about to speak, Sarah gave a cold smile and decisively turned to leave. I watched her walk away and reminded him, "Your fiancée is leaving, you should go after her." Jason showed a look of conflict but quickly made a decision. "Before leaving," he said, "I do not approve of your marriage. Have your fun and come home early." After saying that, he hurriedly left. I couldn't help but lean a little toward Liam beside me. He glanced at me, a hint of teasing in his eyes, and asked, "What's wrong? Is your heart aching? Do you want me to help you chase after them?" I couldn't help but roll my eyes and weakly replied, "I twisted my ankle, it really hurts. The injury to my calf hadn't healed yet, and now I've sprained my ankle. I was standing so straight just now, all thanks to my strong willpower." Liam quietly said something about letting someone handle the situation on site. He then took me to the hospital. After this incident, my confession video stopped circulating. Soon after, Liam prepared a dramatic wedding proposal video. I was with Liam, and I received the support and joy of Jason's family. They had always hoped to reconcile with the Brooks family, but they just never found the right opportunity. Many of Jason's family members called me, complimenting my abilities and saying how lucky I was to have met Liam. Some even mentioned that Jason really didn't waste his efforts raising me and encouraged me to make the most of this opportunity within the Brooks family to help Jason more. They praised me because the Brooks family could bring them benefits. If I were with someone ordinary, their attitude would have been quite different. I simply responded casually to their compliments. Just after hanging up their call, Jason's phone rang immediately. "Mia, you've grown up, haven't you? Now you don't even want to come home. If you don't want to make me angry, come back quickly." I used to be really afraid of him getting angry. But now, it's not necessary anymore. "Brother, I have a fiancé now, so it's not very appropriate for me to live with you. I will come back to get my things in a while." "Mia." His voice was filled with dissatisfaction, as if he wanted to convey it to me through the phone. "Mia, I told you that I do not approve of your marriage with Liam. You two really aren't suited for each other, he is a whole 8 years older than you. In just 2 years, he will be almost 30, while you are only 20 now. Do you really understand what it means to be in love? He is the same age as Liam." However, when I confessed to him, he never said any of these things. He only said that I was crazy and that I lacked self-respect. Did he refuse me initially because of my age? Bro, what kind of couple do you think would be the most suitable? Just because you think the person I like and I are not a good match, should I really go find someone I don't like instead? He got a bit angry after hearing this. After just a few days of knowing each other, how could I talk about love? "Mia, is your affection really that unimportant?" I felt a sharp pain in my heart, as if I had been pricked by a needle. I suppressed the bitterness within me and said seriously, "Brother, I've grown up. I will take responsibility for my own choices and won't cause you any trouble in the future." After saying this, I hung up the phone abruptly. When Liam walked in and saw my red eyes, his expression turned heavy. "Mia, do you regret it?" "I don't and I won't regret it. Like I said before, we're adults now, and we need to learn to take responsibility for our choices." I shook my head, just thinking about why I was so unlucky. I loved my dad, but he passed away in the line of duty. I love my mom, but she has left me. Even Mr. Hale, who was always kind to me, is no longer around. Now, the only person who has been good to me, Jason, is gradually drifting away as well. Liam thought silently for a long time and finally said, "Why don't you consider meeting me as the end of all your good luck?" His eyes sparkled with a smile, carrying a hint of teasing. I can't help but smile at this. Anyway, I should really get some rest. This matter has spread quite a bit, and I need to go back and explain it to the older folks. I'm sorry for dragging you into this. I sincerely apologize for that. He gently patted my head and joked, "You should consider yourself lucky to have found me. If it were someone else, they would have given up long ago. But I'm a nice person and won't argue with you." I smiled lightly, and the regret in my heart vanished instantly. All right then, let's help each other. If you need anything in the future, just reach out to me. After he finished speaking, he kept watching me until I fell asleep before he finally left. I am still a university student and can apply for on-campus housing. Considering that I won't disturb them anymore, I applied for it. To my surprise, I was selected for the list of candidates for studying abroad. Mia, this is a rare opportunity, and for your future development, I hope you will think carefully and make a wise decision. Studying abroad is indeed a great opportunity, but it requires considerable expenses, and I don't have that much money. Although I usually work part-time to save money, it hardly makes a difference compared to the expensive costs of studying abroad. Jason is very generous with his allowance, but I don't want to rely on him. Apart from my daily living expenses, I repay him for any other costs one by one. As of now, I've kept a record of the money I've used from him. To me, that already amounts to quite a debt. How could I have the face to ask him for more? I didn't respond to the professor right away because I wanted more time to think it over. After resolving the accommodation issue, I went back to my previous place to pack my luggage. However, Jason, who was supposed to be at work, was at home. "Hey, Miss Carter, are you home?" I greeted him with a forced smile. Jason sat on the sofa, looking very tired. He coldly said, "You're back. I'll have Aunt Lee make something you like later. I noticed you've lost some weight." During my hospital stay, Liam strictly controlled my diet, and I was limited to drinking this soup or that soup every day. I wouldn't say I lost weight. It's fine, I'll get my clothes ready and leave. Mia, why do you always have to argue with me? He was very tired and couldn't understand when I had stopped listening to him. Brother, I was immature before. Please don't hold it against me. From now on, I will only regard you as my brother, and I will always be your sister. I added if he didn't mind. Immature? He repeated in a soft voice. The expression on his face looked somewhat bewildered. Is your affection for me just because you don't understand things? I nodded without hesitation and confirmed, yes. I didn't stay for dinner, I chatted briefly and then left. I took away the things I had brought with me, while the items he had bought for me remained here. It felt like my memories and feelings for him had also come to an end at this point. Liam knew that I was going to move to the school. He didn't try to dissuade me but said that if I needed anything, I could let him know and not to seek help from the He family anymore. He mentioned that our Brooks family wasn't short on money and could take care of me. I furrowed my brow and disagreed, saying, I don't need you, I can take care of myself. He explained, don't get me wrong, you are my fiancé. If you let the He family support you, it would be like slapping my face. However, it would certainly be better if you could support yourself, earn a little more, and in the future we can take care of this household together. I glanced at him. The clothes and accessories he wore could buy 2 houses. Who could possibly afford to support someone like him? Liam, if one day you truly became bankrupt and had to wear cheap clothes, come back and tell me this. But I have to clarify that after we get married, we will live our own lives separately. If you really go bankrupt, don't blame me, I can't bear that responsibility. When Liam heard this, he was initially a bit angry but then found it amusing. This little guy certainly knows how to trouble me. Although he didn't seem very happy on the surface, he still helped me a lot. Since I didn't stay in the dormitory, I wasn't very clear about what I needed to buy. Fortunately, he was there to help me gather everything I needed. I wanted to give him some money, but he refused and instead asked me to treat him to a meal. I thought he would choose a fancy restaurant, but to my surprise, he took me to the food street behind the school. Seeing him in a suit in such a lively alley made me feel a strong sense of contrast. I also clearly realized that he is different from Jason. Jason would never come to places like this, let alone try the street food. In his eyes, those things are just junk food. He doesn't let me eat them either. Every time I come here, I have to sneak in and eat them. This time, it was the first time I ate so comfortably, without having to hide or worry. After dinner, Liam walked with me around the school. As we walked, I thought about the research questions the professor mentioned. Liam isn't that young anymore, he should be thinking about getting married now. What would he do if I really went on to graduate studies? But I can't give up this opportunity. I glanced at him cautiously and tentatively asked, Mr. Brooks, if you had two options in front of you, one being to stay in your comfort zone, and the other to pursue your dreams and move forward, which would you choose? He replied with a question of his own, where do you want to go? I understood that this was a significant matter that couldn't be concealed, so I decided to be honest. To my surprise, he said, you've already made your choice, what's the point of asking me? Research study requires funding, and I can apply for some grants. However, regarding his marriage, I'm really not sure how to handle it. After all, it was me who got him into this situation, so I can't just ignore it. Mr. Brooks, could you wait for me for a moment? I asked cautiously. He stopped and looked at me, saying, Mia, people should look ahead. You have your own ideals and plans, and there's no need to let anyone become an obstacle in your progress. Besides, you're just going abroad, you're not leaving this world. I can visit you anytime. He was right, but I felt something was slightly off. After walking for a while, he suddenly asked me, why did you choose me in the first place? Instead of others, Jason gave me many options. They all came from good family backgrounds, had their own companies, and were tall and handsome. However, none of them was like him, willing to change the company's rules from a woman's perspective. He is a truly caring boss who genuinely cares about women. This may also relate to his family background. His mother is an outstanding career woman who understands the significant challenges women face in the workplace. He once came to our school to give a speech, and his words were both brilliant and profound. I even witnessed him standing up for a wife who was arguing on the street with her husband's mistress. At that moment, I thought to myself how someone could have such contrasting facets. In the end, it proved that my choice of him was not wrong. When I went to see him that day, I was also prepared for the possibility of being turned down. Fortunately, he agreed to help me. I spoke frankly, and Liam seemed increasingly helpless, as if he felt he should thank his past self for being so kind. No, you are kind now too, I said firmly. His expression became somewhat complicated, a mix of a smile and something else. After discussing it with him, I went to see the professor and told him that I wanted to participate in the study tour. This news quickly reached Jason. He came to the school to find me and asked, did you choose to study abroad because of me? His voice was somewhat choked when he said this. I replied, no, I just want to improve myself. I don't want to be labeled by others in the future. I don't want to be just Jason's sister or Liam's fiancée. I just want to be myself, Mia. Jason looked pale, his smile tinged with bitterness as he said, Mia, if I break off my engagement with Sarah, would you come back to me? No, brother, you will always be my brother. I smiled and honestly said that I did once have feelings for you and had other thoughts about you in the past. But you were right, I was a bit crazy back then, wanting to be the only one in your eyes. Now, I've moved on and won't bother you anymore. Jason, my uncle says you're a great person and would be a caring brother to your sister, so I'm really glad to have met you. But this is just a feeling of gratitude, having gone through what I did with you. I am also very grateful that when the He family decided to send me to an orphanage, he chose to adopt me regardless of what others thought. One should always be grateful. Therefore, I told him, brother, I hope you find happiness. When you have children in the future, I will be an amazing aunt. After saying this, I felt a sense of relief and smiled. Everything from the past is being let go at this moment. Jason's eyes are filled with tears, and after I finish speaking, a warm tear slowly falls down his cheek. Mia, you are right in front of me, yet I feel you drifting away. He chokes back a sob, his voice low and tinged with a hint of repression. Just like before, I can sense his distance and the pain within his heart. I didn't say anything more and silently walked past him. The night before I left for abroad, Liam held a farewell party for me. The guests he invited were all those who wanted to see me in a lively atmosphere. I asked Liam why he invited them, and he said that some people just cannot stand seeing others do well. The happier you are, the more uncomfortable they feel. He wanted them to see the life I have now and make them feel uneasy. During the banquet, I took a trip to the restroom. When I came out, I unexpectedly heard a familiar voice. Jason, why did you agree to the marriage with the James family? Don't you dislike Sarah? Jason's voice sounded somewhat hoarse as he replied, I don't agree, those people won't let Mia go. She's still young and shouldn't be exposed to the harsh realities of society too soon. I understand now, you were looking for suitors for her, specifically those who don't measure up to your family's standards, just to limit her options. If you don't support this marriage, Mia will end up being forced into a random match by those people. So why did you cancel the engagement and give up so much? The video you watched was sent out from the surveillance footage that she obtained from my home. That time when she was injured, I watched the video and found out that she was the one who pushed Mia down, resulting in Mia getting hurt even more severely. I could sense the regret in his words. After a while, he slowly said, I thought that even if she was with someone else, she would still be by my side. Upon hearing this, I didn't feel any emotions stirring within me. I stood in place for a long time, and only walked out slowly after they had left. At the entrance, I saw Liam holding my bag. When he saw me, he reached out his hand and asked, Is it boring inside? Do you want to leave early? I smiled and took his hand, nodding my head. It really did feel stuffy inside. He had also heard Jason's words and said as he reached the door, Jason and Sarah have cancelled their engagement. He's inside, you can go find him. I looked at him in confusion and asked, What do I need to find him for? I don't want to say comforting words, after all, I don't wish to make matters worse at this time. Mia, you understand what I mean. Liam appears very serious in front of me. I respond to him earnestly, Liam, I don't like it when people use concern as an excuse to hurt me. No matter what caused the situation, that is never a justification for hurting someone. I'm not so easily swayed by a few kind words. Whether it's him or Jason, they're both the same. As long as I look forward, I will never look back. After hearing this, Liam's tense expression immediately relaxed. He cleared his throat softly, a smile creeping onto his lips as he said, All right, I see you're being unusually clever this time. What would you like to eat? I'll treat you. I pretended to be angry and huffed, I want to eat Buddha jumps over the wall, I haven't tried that yet. All right. I want 10 servings. I also want 5 servings of lobster. You really can eat a lot, that's impressive. I raised my eyebrows and said, Think what you want, I'm still growing, so eating more is completely normal. Yes, yes, yes. In the end, we still went to the food stall, as the hotel had run out of seafood since it was too late. Out of curiosity, I asked, aren't you quite wealthy? Why not let the hotel staff help get something to eat? He felt quite helpless. Have you read too many novels, or did Jason really do something like that? I'm a law-abiding citizen and wouldn't do such things. That night, we had a barbecue and talked for a long time, but the next day we nearly missed our flight. I rushed to my seat and finally breathed a sigh of relief. The flight attendant came over and asked, "Excuse me, are you Miss Mia?" "I am. Your upgrade to a first-class seat has been arranged. Please follow me." With a look of confusion, I followed her. When we arrived in first class and I saw Liam sitting leisurely, everything suddenly made sense. "Mr. Brooks, this is truly an unexpected surprise for me." "Yes, otherwise it wouldn't be called a surprise, would it? Don't you have something important to take care of today? Are you traveling abroad for work?" He smiled happily, clearly concerned that I might leave. Is it still considered a small matter for him to personally check on me? I gave him an exasperated glance. When I sat down, he handed me an eye mask and suggested that I take a rest, noting that my dark circles looked quite severe. I reluctantly accepted it and replied with a thank you. Just last night, he mentioned he couldn't sleep and called me to chat endlessly, which only allowed me to get 4 hours of sleep. I put on the eye mask, closed my eyes, and prepared to sleep. Suddenly, the plane encountered severe turbulence, and the cabin began to shake violently. I was awakened, feeling a bit uneasy. Just as I hesitated about whether to write a will, a pair of warm hands gently rested on my ears. Liam softly said to me, "Don't be afraid, I'm here." At that moment, I seemed to feel something. The warmth that once left has returned to me in a different way.